gentlemen. Welcome to our October meeting of the Louisville Town Council. So nice to see so many of you with us here tonight. For those of you folks watching at home, we're on TV6. We're being live streamed on our website, louisvillenc.net, and we're also appearing live on Facebook. So if you have questions, post them on Facebook. We'll try to get to them over the course of the meeting, but thank you for joining us. Although I'm getting this back here from... Okay, we may have you on Facebook.
I'm on Facebook, yes.
Okay, very good. So we've got you covered in a lot of different ways. If you notice, what we try to do as a town is to reach out in as many different ways as possible so that our citizens, whether they can be here or not, have an opportunity to watch the business of the town's council and the proceedings that you'll see this evening. We'll start tonight with our invocation by our town attorney, Bo Hauff, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Dr. Ken Sadler. And if you're able, please stand and join us.
Let us pray. Our Lord, you are the God Almighty. You're the maker of heaven and earth. But you're also our Father, and you love us and care for each of us, and you know us each personally. And we give you thanks for that. God our Father, we give you thanks for this town, a wonderful place in which to live. We give you thanks for the citizens of this town, for the officials and the staff who make the town work for each of us. And now, Father, tonight we would ask you to guide and direct this hearing and the decisions that are to be made in it. We ask you, Lord, for healing of those who have suffered at the hands of nature and hurricanes and floods and fires in California and Texas and Florida and Puerto Rico. We ask your comforting, healing, and guiding hand upon each of us this evening. Bless those who are hurting and who are ill. And Lord, following this meeting, take each of us home safely, for it's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, since we have some pastors in the house, I want to see if you got a thumbs up for that invocation tonight. Did he do a good job? Very good. We'll ask you maybe to do it again sometime. Thank you both for doing that. As is our custom, we'll do our roll call of our council members this evening, starting from my far right.
Good evening, I'm Councilman Jeff Singer. Thank you for being here this evening.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Ed Smith, and good to have you.
Good evening, and I'm Sandra Mock.
I'm Mike Horn.
Robert Green.
Ken Sadler.
And I'm Fred Franklin. It's a pleasure to serve as a council member.
Thank you, council. All present and accounted for. Also with us is our town staff manager, Hank Perkins, our town attorney, Bo Hauff, our communication specialist back working to get us on Facebook or TV6 or something, Tracy Krill. Tracy, thank you very much for being here tonight. This is your first town council meeting, and Tracy's new as our communications specialist, and we're really excited that she's part of our staff, so we know she's going to do a great job. Also with us is our town clerk, Joyce Walker, and our town finance manager, director par excellence, Pam Orell. Very good. Council, we do have just a couple of additions to our agenda since our briefing. Under 3A, we've added a couple of presentations, one to Deputy Chris Owen and one to Corporal Douglas Fay. Under 3D, we have a staff presentation to John Patrick Henry Jackson. And we have under 6C, we have an addition of approval for our contract being awarded to Yadkin Valley Paving. I think our manager mentioned this to us that he was having that prepared at the briefing and was hoping to bring it forward tonight, and indeed it is on our agenda. Are there any more changes, additions for the agenda this evening? If not, I'll accept a motion for approval.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Mock makes the motion. Mr. Smith makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. That is unanimous. Okay, Hank, you want to walk us through the consent agenda, please?
Yes, sir. Tonight's consent agenda consists of 4 items. First is Resolution 2017050 for the acceptance and approval of the monthly financials for August 2017. Next is the approval of council briefing and action minutes from September 7th, 2017. Approval of council meeting minutes from September 14th, 2017. And lastly, Resolution 2017048, accepting the removal of Matt Warlick from the Louisville Beautification Committee.
Ladies and gentlemen, the consent agenda are items that ordinarily come before the town council, such as our minutes and our financial reports. We go over these, obviously, at our briefing and our time outside of council. We take these as a group for efficiency. However, any council member can choose to pull any of the items off individually to be considered. What is your pleasure, council?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Mock makes the motion. Mr. Zinger makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. That approves unanimously. Okay. I get to come down front for these things, which I do that on behalf of the council. We have a number of presentations and recognitions that we'd like to do tonight. First, if I could ask Deputy Chris Owen and Corporal Douglas Fay to come up, if you would, please. For those of you that thought we were just being heavily protected tonight, we actually have some presentations we're making to our community policing officers. Unfortunately for us, and fortunately for the rest of Forsyth County, these two deputies will be leaving the town of Louisville as part of our community policing force to advance their careers in the Forsyth County Sheriff's Department. That's one of the unfortunate things I think about having a community policing component in Louisville is that once we get them trained and once they understand what law enforcement is all about. But I want to thank both of you all and present to you a certificate of appreciation for the town council and the town staff for all you do. I can't tell you, each one of you, how much you've done to our community. You know, Chris, you become one of us out here, and we really are going to miss you. We hope that in your patrol, you'll swing through and still help yourself with the snacks and things that we have over in the annex. Just get more Twinkies. Maybe you can pull more kittens out of you. But we really are going to miss you. You've been a big addition to all we do out here. You gain great understanding of our residents and great understanding of you embody the true spirit of community policing. We're going to miss you. Thanks, sir. Corporal, I've said this before, but when you came out, I said, you know, we got a corporal out here that's a little green behind the gate. It's his first kind of a charge assignment. So I will tell you how much Douglas has grown into the role. You can tell a leader by how they treat the men and women that serve under him. When the deputies under his charge have accomplished something wonderful for our community, Corporal Fay is the first one to recognize them and share to recognize them for their contribution and their accomplishment. It means a lot. What you do by deed is so much more important than what you say by word. To borrow an old expression, you walk the walk. So you've been a terrific addition to our town, and we're going to miss you, buddy. Let me present you with these two plaques. Recognition of service and contributions to our, as a community policing officer for the town of Louisville. I present this to you on behalf of the Louisville Town Council and town staff. Chris?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you very much.
Sir.
Douglas?
Sir.
Thank you very much. Let's hear it.
Douglas.
Second thing I'd like to do is recognize and introduce to our community our new fire chief. Darren Needham joined the fire department September 1, correct? September 11th. September 11th. That's an ominous day, but I think for what it is in our history, but certainly from a legal standpoint, we deemed a good one on September 11th. Had a chance to spend some time with Chief, and we really did snag a good one this time through. I know all of you know how important it is, our fire department is. And we recognize the bravery that every man and woman who is part of that department exhibits. You know, as the usual expression, there are people who run away from disaster and trouble, and there are those who run into it. And we are so fortunate to have a fire department and a community policing department that represent the best that you can be when you wear your uniforms and represent and protect the residents of Louisville. Welcome to town. I hope if you've not had a chance to meet all the council, please walk around and introduce yourself and say hello. Welcome, Chief.
Hey, Chief. Their future.
Good to see you and welcome.
Welcome aboard.
Good to have you. Yes, sir.
We go way back. Introduce myself like that.
Calls.
Really? First time. Okay. He's gonna go far.
I'm going to change the order of our agenda just a little bit here because I'd like to recognize one other individual before I go up and sit down. Over the summertime, we've had the pleasure of having an intern. You heard me call him Mr. John Patrick Kennedy Jackson. And we wanted to get all of the appropriate historical references we possibly could. But John Henry has been with us. Has been with us all summer and has made a wonderful contribution to the tasks that he's been charged with. Let me read you just a couple of things. He's worked on our parks maintenance contract. I know he was been really excited about this, working on our sewer septic care information. For those of you who've seen the PSA on the website, wanting to know how to take care of your septic tank, this is the guy. He worked on a special project collecting data from communities around North Carolina about our new community center. He was responsible for doing the research and recommendation to the council on the Historical Society bench replacements. I don't know if you've seen those or not, but if you do, go over and sit on them and enjoy them. And he assisted in the revision of forms for our facility renewals that you all have to use. You use when you want to reserve a facility at Town Hall. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. That approves unanimously. Okay. I get to come down front for these things, which I do that on behalf of the council. We have a number of presentations and recognitions that we'd like to do tonight. First, if I could ask Deputy Chris Owen and Corporal Douglas Fay to come up, if you would, please. Good. Let me read this in. John Henry Jackson. And recognition of contributions of intern for the town of Louisville while seeking a bachelor's degree in political science and international relations from High Point University. At the end of the month, he leaves us, but I know he's going on to great and wonderful things in this career. Thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Now, we have a presentation by, I believe, Susan Linker and Mary Gaines from the Lewisville Historical Society. Yes? Yes.
For the boring news, and Mary's going to deliver the interesting news. So, yeah. This is an update on work that has been done already on the Nissen House recently that we thought you'd be interested in. And then,
Thank you.
and then Mary's going to give you some good news. So, we're pleased to report that in April of this year, the badly deteriorated metal roof over the rear area of the Nissen House was replaced with a new standing seam metal enamel roof. At the end of July, our contractor finished reconstruction work on the chimneys using the same handmade brick that we've used on the foundation and the front steps of the house, which comes to us from Salisbury. In September, the wood in the Nissen house was tested by a professional dendrochronologist who tried to date the construction of the house more accurately. We expect to receive the results of that testing in about a month, and we'll use the information for historical marking of the house and also to help with our application for the National Register for the house. Currently, we're waiting to receive estimates from our contractor for the cleaning and the painting of the main standing seam metal roof. As soon as that contract is signed, we will move ahead with the restoration of the main roof. In November, we expect restoration and rehab work to begin on the lower half of the rear exterior side of the house. This work will include repair or replacement of original siding and painting of the siding and trim, the moving of a large window on the left rear of the house to the right rear side, and construction of a smaller version of the window for use on the left side. Elimination of a non-original window beside the entry door, and replacement of the existing rear entry door with a larger ADA accessible entry. When this work is completed, all major restoration work on the exterior of the house will be complete. We will be meeting with our contractor soon to discuss work on the interior of the house. This is a real landmark for us. And obtain estimates for that work. Interior work will first focus on the area at the back of the house where we plan for 2 ADA bathrooms, a catering kitchen, and storage. And we already have the architectural plans drawn for this area. And wiring and plumbing will be installed at this stage as well. After work at the rear of the house is complete, restoration of the downstairs rooms will be carried out. I think this pretty much ties up what has been done so far and what our immediate plans are for the house. And then Mary is going to give you some information on funding for the house.
As Susan said, it is going to be really exciting for us when we get the exterior of that house done. As I was working on kind of what I was going to say this evening, I just thought about we should have had one of the original pictures, you know, with the blue tarp flapping in the wind and the porch hanging off and all of those things, and how the house looks. We really should have had that to show to you tonight. But Susan, as she said, has covered the boring part, and I have some interesting, fun things to talk to you about. We are happy to make a very important announcement about 2 substantial donations that we have received from the estate of one of the Nissen family heirs who passed away last fall. In April of this year, we received a little over $96,000 from the charitable trust that had been established by June Montague Ficklin, who was the great-granddaughter of George Elias Nissen, who was the owner of the house we are restoring. She did that in the name of the Nissen family heirs, and she has been a benefactor of the Nissen House project since we began. She has contributed, has donated all along in the name of the Nissen family heirs. We are using these funds, and Susan talked about this, to complete restoration work on the exterior, which should be done within, we're hoping within the next 2 or 3 months. They're supposed to start in November. And with the remaining funds of that money, we're going to start work on the interior of the house. In addition to that, just recently, we received the news that the same Nissen family heir had left a gift of $253,137 to be used primarily for the establishment of an endowment for the Nissen House. We were completely surprised and overwhelmed and falling off our chairs and everything when we saw this. It came in a letter with the check attached to the letter, and that was good news. The funds in this endowment will help secure the future functioning of the Nissen House after it opens to the public. We are currently engaged in discussions with the family about an appropriate portion of this second gift, the $253,000, that could be used toward the completion of the family for us to use at least a portion of it for work on the house. As I said, the gift came as a complete and lovely surprise to us. We publicly want to express our deepest gratitude to the Nissen family heirs for their ongoing support of the Nissen House project over the years. We also would like to express appreciation to Mary Alice Warren and Darla Johnson. They are both members of the Nissen House Steering Committee. That's the group that has guided this all along. For the key personal roles they played in inviting June Ficklin's support for the restoration of her great-grandfather's house and maintaining a warm relationship with her during our many years of work on the Nissen House. As always, we want to express our deep appreciation to the town of Louisville for the generous support of the Nissen House project. We would never have made such progress without your help. And I do feel like we've made progress. I know it's been slow sometimes, but it is amazing to those of us who've been working just to look at this house now. If you haven't seen the work completed on the house recently, we invite you to stop by, and we hope that you will continue to visit the Nissen House as work moves forward in the coming months. And if anyone should like to take a look at the interior, and it still is in the original condition, nothing has been done, but we're getting ready to start on that in the next few months. If any of you would like to see the interior before we start the work on it, if you will call Susan or call me, we'd be glad to take you through to take a look at it. So good news. We're very, very excited, and of course anxious to get a word from the family about what part of this last donation that they would be willing for us to use for the restoration work. So if there are any questions, Susan and I'll be glad to try to answer them, or if not.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Susan. Mary Kay, I overlooked you very back in the back, the president of the Historical Society. Thank you, Mary Kay, for all you're doing. I know if Mr. Zinger held up his hands and you looked at his fingernails, you would see some dirt from that house back in the very beginning.
That
and
is
we were
true.
moving it. And
Without
so,
Mr. Zinger's help, we would never have got it moved and set up on that foundation.
On
So,
New Year's Day, remember?
New Year's Day,
New Year's Day.
2009, and it was about 9 degrees.
Yes, it was.
All-day event.
It was all day.
But we do appreciate everything that the town has done, and we're very grateful, of course, to the Mrs. Ficklin and the Nissen House heirs for the help they are giving us. Thank you.
thank you, Mary. That's absolutely great news for not only the Nissen House, but also for the town of Louisville. This is a wonderful historical landmark that, without your efforts, it probably would have not been here today to remind us of the wagons that were assembled here and built here to start their westward trek across the Shallow Ford, and the wonderful history and legacy that we have with that. So thank you for all you are doing. It's been a big pull, but you all are making amazing progress. Please also extend our thanks and appreciation to Darla and Mary Alice, because I know that was a lot of work on their part to nurture that relationship and make this gift possible. Thanks again for all you're doing. I'd also like to welcome the Frys to town. They came over this evening to attend their first Louisville Town Council meeting. They live across the street. They said they were sitting in the park and they were wondering about where they wanted to live. They'd narrowed it down to Louisville, and all of a sudden the listing popped up, and it just happened to be right around the corner while they were sitting there, and they said, we'll go look at it, and they took it. And we're so glad that you all are here, moving here from Newport News, and to join our community. I know you'll be great additions, and welcome on behalf of the council. We now come to the first of two opportunities this evening for residents to address our council. This is our public forum. There'll be one now and one at the end of the meeting. I do have several people who have signed up to speak, so if you, as I call your name, if you will come up, state your name and your address, and if you have comments, I think we're flexible. We try to hold it to 3 minutes, but recognizing that we have men of the pulpit available, we may extend that a little bit should you wish to take advantage of that opportunity. So first, George Smith.
I'll try to honor the 3 minutes. It's George Smith. 194 Matt James Court, just basically an earshot here from the square. I'm the teaching pastor over at Louisville Baptist, and want to speak toward item number 6C, the ordinance that's coming up later in the meeting. Baptists have a long history of opposing alcohol, and we would, of course, desire to be more restrictive than less restrictive, and as far as the sales are concerned and all of those kinds of things. But I'd like to take a little bit different perspective on that this evening, if I might. I took a moment earlier today to kind of Google real estate listings in our town, the kinds of things that you guys did in the park. And the phrases that come up with those listings are ones like this: it's desirable Louisville, or lovely Louisville. Those are the kinds of phrases with almost every home listing from our area. Others talk about events in the square or the shops in town. This council, I'm sure, has worked hard over the years to achieve this kind of notoriety and help to place residents of Louisville in a wonderful position that we find ourselves in today. And for that, we're thankful. This has been done by considering not what's best for North Carolina or what's best for Raleigh, but what enhances Louisville. The council has stood strong concerning the streetscape through the town, even over our fencing and zoning of the playground at the church, and I would expect nothing less. Because once we begin to give a little here and a little there, we soon arrive where we did not intend to go. Raleigh has said, in looking at the state as a whole, that moving the restriction on alcohol sales by a few hours is an option that municipalities should have. And it may be a good fit for some of those. They also were
Of the restoration work on the interior of the house. There were certain stipulations in the letter, and we, of course, have to live up to and have asked the blessings of.
looking this spring at making local elections bipartisan. And this council adopted a resolution, 2017012, the conclusion of which reads this way: now therefore be it resolved that the Louisville Town Council, in order to protect the rights of local municipalities to choose their own forms of government, urges the Forsyth County Legislative Delegation and all the members of the state legislatures to oppose any legislation with the intent of mandating partisan elections and or changing election cycles to even-numbered years unless requested by the municipality. In other words, what may work for all areas of North Carolina may or may not be good as far as a fit for Louisville. The voters I represent call on the council to continue to uphold the standards that make our town what it is. It is our belief that following the whims of Raleigh and relaxing the rules concerning the Sunday sale of alcohol from 10 to 2 a.m. is another step in the erosion of the guardrails that have yielded those titles: desirable Louisville, lovely Louisville. And thus we appeal to the council to vote to retain the current rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. Homer Goff, did I pronounce that correctly? Great.
My name's Homer Goff, and my address is 115 Reed Acres Lane here in Louisville. I've been a resident for Louisville for about 37 and a half years. And I find over those 37 and a half years, it's a great place to live, just as the pastor just spoke. And y'all have done some great things for the town. The council has done great things for Louisville. And our town has grown to be something special in my heart, and I hope it is in everybody else's. It's a wonderful place to live. I know there's growth to come, but I'm here tonight to speak against the voting on the time, moving the time to 10 o'clock instead of 12. There's nothing we can do about the laws that's already been passed, but I think we can prevent things from happening like that. My personal opinion, I think the study if we're hindering people from being in church, I think they ought to be in church instead of buying alcohol. And I don't think we ought to encourage our youth that it's okay to go buy it. So I think we ought to be standing up and try to teach them not to to bad habits. And I've been around alcohol, and I've seen what it's done, and I'm totally against it. I wouldn't want my grandsons to know it's okay to go buy beer just anytime we want to. So I just think as far as the safety of the residents, the people, alcohol is, we all know, that is really not good for us. We think we might can handle it, but we really can't. And I want to thank the officers in our town that does a fine job. And as far as people trying to handle alcohol, I've seen alcohol cause trouble for us, our law officers, maybe going out and stopping somebody for driving drunk, and it puts their life in jeopardy. So there's a lot of reasons why we don't need alcohol. I thank you for the time that I've actually said what I said. I'm not known as a speaker, but I pray and hope that you guys, when y'all do look at this, that you'll search your hearts and make the right decision.
Thank you, Mr. Goff. You did a fine job. Mike Alderman.
Afternoon. My name's Mike Alderman. I live at 7722 Amber Forest Lane. I've been in this town for 18 years. And I'm also speaking, keeping alcohol times the same. Don't bring it to 10 o'clock. As been mentioned, church is a big part of my life. I used to be a drunk. I'd be one of those that you see it waiting on Sunday morning, waiting for the doors to open up so I could get me a drink. And there's a lot more people out there like I used to be. And they'll be out there at 10 o'clock. About the time church gets up, they'll be in a good state of mind to be driving, and these church buses and church people getting out. And I just want to make a statement that just leave the time like it is. And I just be like it used to be back in the old days. No alcohol at all on Sundays. This Lord's Day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Alderman. That's all of the people who have signed up to speak. Is there anybody that also wishes to speak?
Yes, sir. I signed up. I don't know how I got lost.
Well, we'll find you right now.
I'm Ronnie Comer. I live on 8101 Riverway Road in Louisville. I pastor Grapevine Baptist Church. I've been there 30 years. I was 41 years old. I'm 71 now. Been in this town a long time. I came here believing the Bible, a conservative preacher, believing what Habakkuk said when he said, "Woe be unto the man that puts a bottle to his neighbor's lips." And I believe that when I come here, and I believe it now, that anybody that puts the bottle to his neighbor's lips is in danger of God's judgment. And I believe that firmly. I really believe that God's going to hold us as leaders, me as a pastor, leading people, and you as leading the community, that we're going to be held accountable. We can't, like Homer said, he's one of our members. I think he's done a real good job, and I appreciate what he said. But I believe that I had a past, I'm trying to think, 40-some years ago, I was in an alcohol. I know it from the inside out. I have a perfect hatred of it. And about wrecked my life, wrecked my health, about killed me in many ways. But I got saved from it. And I believe this. I know when a person has a problem with alcohol and drinks on Saturday night, Sunday morning, he's looking for a place to go. He's already got a bunch of alcohol in him. And he gets a few drinks about 10 o'clock in the morning. About 12 o'clock when people are getting out of church, going home, you got to face them. I've often wondered what kind of group would put an ABC store and then put a bunch of runabouts right close to them, don't know much about a drunkard. And I just say this, I think, and I'm asking you on behalf of Christian people to consider seriously what you're about to do, because you're going to be held accountable if anybody gets hurt of people that's been drinking, and here they go home from church at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. We need to really seriously think about that. And so I just firmly want to stand against it, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Comer. Anybody else wish to speak? Anyone at all? Thank you very much for your comments. We have no public hearings tonight. We are down to new business. Ms. Walker, do you want to talk to us about the ordinance we need to approve?
Yes. Ordinance 2017-038 is accepting approved ordinances into the Louisville Town Code. Those ordinances were approved one in July of this year, one in June of this year, and another in June of this year. Officially, we have to accept those into the town code in order to make them truly official and in order to make us be able to do anything with them.
Very good.
So,
Council members, any question for Mrs. Walker?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Zinger makes the motion, Mr. Smith makes the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Hank, I believe you have something on our traffic mediation policy.
Yes, this evening we have consideration of Resolution 2017049, accepting the amended traffic mediation policy. As it was discussed last week in our briefing, the town of Louisville does have an existing traffic mediation policy, and this governs requests from citizens and neighborhoods for consideration of traffic, mitigation standards within the streets to combat against excessive driving as far as speeds and other safety factors. The Public Safety Advisory Committee, who is our citizen advisory board charged with listening to the concerns of residents in the community, and then deciding whether or not they're going to conduct speed studies or traffic studies within neighborhoods, was feeling a little bit difficult in that when they were looking at the results of the traffic data from the studies that were done, they weren't given a lot of information within the current policy in regards to benchmarks being set to display what is a bad situation within a neighborhood. So I worked with the Public Safety Advisory Committee over 2 or 3 months in amending our current policy to establish benchmarks, if you will, for sort of giving a snapshot for the Public Safety Advisory Committee and those that are seeking consideration for traffic mediation, sort of as an example of what represents a problem and what may not represent a problem. So they sort of get out of the feeling like they're making decisions based on gut. So what you have for your consideration this evening is a resolution that, if adopted, would accept that amended traffic mediation policy.
Very good. Any questions for our manager?
Brief one, please. I understand that in part of the adoption of this amended traffic mediation policy is that we will be adopting the uniform, help me out here, uniform traffic.
Uniform traffic.
no, we will not be adopting the MUTCD. That was adopted by council about 4 or 5 years ago to go along with some other federal regulations. What this is doing is referencing some items from the MUTCD.
Okay.
All right.
That's correct.
Okay, so my point, the reason I'm bringing the question up is I drove down into Robin Hood West today, and the recent stop signs we put out, should they be stop aheads?
No,
Or
those
you just-
were
you just-
installed according to the MUTC.
That's the reason I
That
was
is
on
correct,
that.
sir.
Okay,
Yes.
all right, thank you. And with that, I'll make a motion to approve this resolution 2017-049.
Second.
Mr. Frankel makes a motion, Mr. Zinger makes the second. Any further discussion or questions? If not, Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good, that is unanimous. Hank, I think you're up again.
Okay, next is item 6C. This is consideration of ordinance 2017-041. And this is an ordinance to consider changing the time of alcohol sales from 12 noon on Sunday to 10 o'clock a.m. on Sunday as provided by Session Law 2017-87. This was originally brought to the town's consideration after we received a request from the Lowe's Corporation corporate offices and verbal consideration from a gas station along Williams Road. And this, again, goes back to what we heard during public comment, allows the town council by passage of a resolution to change earlier to 10 o'clock a.m.
Very good.
Okay.
Any questions for the manager? No? Very good. Council, what's your pleasure?
Make a motion to bring it for the council to vote.
Okay. The motion to do,
Either, either vote for or repeal.
okay. Which would you like to make?
I'd like to bring a motion to repeal the law and keep it at 12 o'clock on Sundays.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to not
I'll second that.
accept the resolution. Mr. Zinger makes a second. Any further discussion? Any more comments?
I'd like to thank the gentleman that came and spoke tonight, especially the two that had an illness at one time, and they've overcome it. I know it took a lot of courage to come up here and admit that at one time you had a problem, and you've got it taken care of, it seems like, and that's good. Yes, sir. Thank all of y'all for coming and speaking.
Council members, any additional comments?
I'll just make one comment is, I've really thought about this a lot over the last week, and, one of the things that has come to mind, one of the reasons why Louisville, I think, is Louisville is we haven't just always done what everybody else did. And so we've made our own way, and we can see how that's really paid off with all different things. And so I just, one, it kind of bugs me to kind of have it thrown on us. That really kind of bugs me. But you know what? I just don't see a huge need for us to follow the crowd. Let's enter by the narrow gate.
Observations? I do want to say that I appreciate your gentlemen's comments tonight. I know that you speak from the heart, and you have the highest consideration of our residents and your congregations in mind when you come to speak with us. I'm torn on this one because whatever we do, it doesn't really make a lot of difference because 2 minutes to our east, the establishments there will be selling at 10 o'clock. A minute to our north, the establishments there will be selling at 10 o'clock. A minute to our west, the establishments will be selling at 10 o'clock. So in spirit, I absolutely appreciate what you're asking for. In practicality, I wish it could be more effective in the actual practice of it. I know in talking about this with the managers at Lowe's Food, what they're most concerned about is people who go to buy their groceries on Sunday morning and buy their groceries for that day. If their purchase includes a case of beer or something for the games that they may be having parties or activities for, if they are not competitive with the Harris Teeters and the Food Lions that are just outside our borders, then they won't. Their purpose is not to sell more alcohol, but also to sell the groceries that people will buy in addition to that. In fact, I think the manager at the Lowe's said the groceries, or the alcohol was the small part of it. It was the loss of the grocery business that was of concern to him. And they've been wonderful corporate citizens to Louisville, and I know in their hearts, in supporting this, they're not thinking they're not advocating a greater use of alcohol. They just want to try to stay competitive and not lose that business to the adjacent communities.
I look at it more from the standpoint of the unincorporated areas of Forsyth County now have the opportunity or right, if you have a convenience store or a food store that's sitting in an unincorporated area, because of actions that were taken by the Forsyth County Commissioners. Of course, Winston-Salem has taken their actions. Other municipalities will address this as time goes along, whether they have addressed it at this point in time or not. I do know that the people at the Four Brothers store down here have already encountered situations where during the time period of 10 to 12 on a Sunday, a customer has come in, or multiple customers, the way it was told to me, has come in and assumed that it would be legal to purchase a six-pack or whatever it may be at that particular time, bring it to the counter, only to be told that Louisville is not the same as Winston-Salem or Forsyth or whatever other jurisdictions that have previously dealt with this to this point in time. And it has created some controversy, for probably lack of an appropriate term, but you know, between the consumer or the customer and the store clerk. And my biggest thing is to try to be consistent, and as I have mentioned before when we've had other discussions and briefing meetings and so forth, to me it would make absolutely no sense that the food line that's right down here at the Oaks Shopping Center is penalized for from 10 a.m. to 12 noon, and the next exit down that is inside the city limits of Clemens, which has not dealt with this issue, but one would assume that when they do, with more restaurants that would benefit from the brunch piece of the legislation, that they will probably pass it. I'm not on their council. I don't know. I can't predict, and I don't have a magic ball. But again gets back to the confusion piece of it. I would make the recommendation that if Louisville does not pass this, that probably one of the things that we should as a town maybe look at doing is where our welcome signs are that we have out attached to the post, that we you know, to try to cut down on the confusion that alcohol sales are not available between 10 a.m. and 12 noon. I respect everybody's personal opinion when it comes to alcohol. I do know that it has destroyed families, has destroyed people's lives, and things of that nature. But when it gets back to what the Bible says about alcohol, I'm not a Bible scholar, but in the Bible, it does not say do not partake of alcohol, in essence. This was told to me many years ago by my pastor, Reverend Chapman, but it does many times do not drink to excess. And I think that's what we're all concerned about when it comes to our problems that are out there. I firmly believe that in the passage in the Bible where it says that Jesus turned the water into wine, that it was not Welch's grapefruit that he made out of the water. Mr. Goff spoke about church buses and so forth that are out on the road. At 12 o'clock, after people might have an opportunity to purchase alcohol at 10 o'clock, I recognize that is a concern, and at every council member meeting, I always say, "Dear Lord, when we're having our invocation, please don't let me say anything stupid tonight." And I'm hoping that He will bear with me what I'm getting ready to say. I live on Conrad Sawmill Road, And Sundays, between 12:30 to 1 o'clock time frame, there are church buses and church vans that come capping the hill and headed down toward the creek, just about wide open. That really concerns me because they got young children on those buses and church vans. And I'm going to let it go at that. And you can read between the lines. I'm sorry.
Council, councilwomen, any other comments? We have a motion and a second. The motion is to not pass resolution ordinance 2017041. All those in favor of not passing the ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
No.
So let's be sure, I want to be sure we have a count on this. So all those all those in favor of the motion, just give me a quick hand. Okay, all those opposed, give me a quick hand. Okay, good. So it fails 4-3. Or it passes 4-3. It's a passage of a negative.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Is it a double negative?
but it's not a
It's not a double negative.
It's not a double negative, which
All
would
right.
make a positive. Very good. Thank you all for your considerations. Thank you for your comments this evening, and we appreciate the discussion on this, and I know everybody, council members and those in the audience have provided us with some very thoughtful comments, and we appreciate it. Ms. Walker, I think we are down to you with a request for annexation.
You know I'm digitally challenged, so hold on one second. Okay. We have a request for annexation, and at the council briefing, you instructed me to move forward with the investigation. I have done so. In your packet, you have a copy of my certificate of sufficiency. In the paperwork that was provided to us, the signature on the paperwork was different from what we find in the tax record. And that is because the owner of the property had provided a power of attorney, a durable power of attorney to her son. So he was legally the person who was to sign the paperwork. So you will also find that in your packet. If you determine that you would like to annex the piece of property that I've identified, then I will need for you to approve Resolution 2017052 to fix the public hearing for November 9th on that annexation.
Any questions for Mrs. Walker?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion, Mr. Zinger makes the second. Any additional comments? Let me say that we are thrilled when residents choose to become part of Louisville. This is a voluntary annexation. As you know, a number of months ago, the legislature said cities and towns could no longer involuntary annex communities on their borders. And so this is the first voluntary annexation that we've had since that time, I believe. Second one, okay, that's right, second one. But this is going to involve a potential 63 new homes, is that correct? 63 new homes?
Close to over 90.
Okay, over 90 new homes, which is
60 plus acres, I believe.
Yeah.
wonderful. So it adds to our tax base and helps keep our taxes low, and we're always thrilled when people want to become part of Louisville. With that, all those in favor of setting the public hearing for November 9th, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's unanimous. Thank you. Ms. Walker, I think we've got to approve some money.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Whenever we have a request for annexation, the town will always assume the monetary part of doing all of the legal advertising. So this budget ordinance is to place the legal ad that we'll place in the newspaper.
Very good. Any questions for Ms. Walker?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Mr. Zinger makes a motion, Mr. Smith makes the second. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes unanimously. Hank, our paving contracts, please.
Okay. Next is consideration of Resolution 2017053. This is awarding a contract to Yadkin Valley Paving in an amount of $213,371.25 for full-depth patch and/or single surface treatment of various roads. These are Pinola Lane, Nix Drive, Marshall Road from Twilight Court to Wellesley Place Drive, and an area at the intersection of Marshall Road and Pinola Lane, Spainhour Farm Road, Sunset Ridge Drive, and Hillary Court.
Very good. Any questions for the manager? This is our fall paving program.
Is correct. We'll do another one in the spring.
Very good. And this is for a little over $213,000.
Motion to approve.
I think arbitrarily, I'm going to say Mr. Smith makes the motion, Mr. Zinger makes the second. Any further discussion?
I'll carry the stronger one.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Go forth and pave. Ladies and gentlemen, we do take these items rather quickly. This is not the first time the council has seen them. We have a briefing session the first Thursday of every month, and at that time, we go into extensive detail about these. Council then has the week to do their additional research and come forward with any questions should they have them at this meeting. So we're not just sitting up here being presented with things for the first time. We've had plenty of time for due diligence to take a look at them. We have no unfinished business. Hank, you want to bring us up on administrative reports?
Yes, we have upcoming events at Shallowford Square and town holidays. First, I will point out that this Saturday, the 14th, we will have a concert at Shallowford Square. This is a bluegrass concert from 4 o'clock p.m. until 8:30 p.m. We've got a number of great groups. I'll go ahead and detail those out for us. From 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock p.m., we have a group called Shadowgrass. From 5:30 to 7 o'clock p.m., the Snyder family will entertain us. And then from 7:30 to 8:30 p.m., the Trailblazers, who were, I guess they were an award winner at Merlefest this year. And then amongst this, we will have the Old Dominion Cloggers that will entertain the crowd as well during this time.
Very good. I understand Mr. Zinger, because of his close association with a number of these groups, has volunteered to MC it.
That is correct.
So that should be entertaining in itself.
Okay.
A lot of good food.
And then after
Yeah, I was
that,
getting ready to say there'd be a lot of good food supplied by the Vina Civics Club.
that is correct as well.
Chicken dumplings and
And toast
toe
and
beans
cornbread,
And hot
banana
dogs,
pudding.
yeah. And then on the 21st, we do have our Shalloween. I guess it's a festival for small kids. It's always a big time for everybody. The makeup date for that, in case there is rain, is the 28th. And then lastly, I will point out that there would be the Observance of Veterans Day. This year, it will be Friday, November 10th, and it is also a town holiday. Okay, and that's it.
Very good. Any questions on our upcoming events? We've had a wonderful spring and summer so far of events. We've had great crowds. Our plays were well attended. I think all of the things that we do in Louisville over the spring and summer for our residents kind of bring us together as a community. So if you haven't had the opportunity to attend one, you got two good ones coming up, particularly the Bluegrass Festival. It's going to be great fun. Ms. Walker, do you want to handle the candidates forum?
I'll tell you about it a little bit. I think we missed something too, didn't we? Where is it? The Louisville Civic Club, that's right. The Louisville Civic Club will hold a candidates forum on Wednesday, October 18th, and it's going to be at 6:30 p.m. at the G. Galloway Reynolds Community Center, 131 Lucy Lane, for interested citizens. And for those who don't know where that is, it's behind the library. Most people just call it the community center, so they don't really know. So we hope everybody can turn out and listen to the candidates.
Very good. And folks watching at home, this is a great opportunity to come out and ask questions and hear from the candidates and really find out a little more about the people that probably influence your lives much greater than the folks in Raleigh or the folks in Washington. We determine your property tax rates. We help try to protect and keep the community safe with our community policing. We pick up your garbage. We pick up your recycling. We pave your roads. We plan your community, so there's a lot of things that we do that touch your lives directly. So I hope you'll turn out and hear from the candidates and what their plans are for Louisville. Ms. Walker, Planning Board.
Okay, there's 1 seat available on the Planning Board and 2 seats available on the Utilities Committee. I've asked that any applications be in by the 27th of this month so they can be reviewed by council at the November meeting.
Excellent. Wonderful opportunity to participate in town government on these 2 committees and boards. Hope we'll have a flood of applications. Election Day, Tuesday,
Yes,
November 7th,
yes,
starting at 6:30,
6:30.
running until 7:30. Everybody grimaces because they'll all be standing out there at the polling places, and they'll be talking with candidates or talking with residents, and hopefully we'll have except for Dr. Sadler, who has chosen not to run this time through, and that's why he has a smile on his face. Standing out there with the rest of us as we do this. It's a great opportunity, again, once again, to choose your town government, and that's an important function.
And also,
Yes, sir.
Could you possibly tell where the voting sites will be at? Or
I can. As far as I know right now, it'll be Shiloh Lutheran Church. It will be Louisville Elementary School. It'll be Unity Moravian Church. And I believe those are the 3 big ones. There'll also be Southwest Middle School. But we don't have a lot of voters that live in that district, but that will be a polling place for those Louisville residents that live in that district. And also Meadowlark. I believe we have a smattering of voters that live in that district.
Southwest Elementary.
Southwest Elementary.
and I did put a note on here to remind everyone that if you do have questions, please call the Board of Elections because we do not have specific information on any of the voters. So we can't really answer many of your questions.
And early voting is only downtown.
Early voting is only downtown and starts October 19th. Hank, you want to bring us up to date on our actions we took at briefing?
Yes, sir. We had 2 action items on our briefing agenda. First, we had consideration of Ordinance 2017040, amending the budget ordinance 2017020 in an amount of $2,388 to pay for a 1-year subscription for web streaming services from Laytronics to stream our council meetings. This, as we discussed in our briefing meeting, is also our ability to stream live on our public access channel on cable channel 6. And then next, we adopted Resolution 2017051, directing the clerk to investigate an annexation petition received under GS 160A-31 for Glad Acres.
Very good. Anything else for Hank right now? Very good. Well, this is the second opportunity as a public forum for anybody who wishes to make any comments to the town council. This is a great time to do it. Anybody wish to make a comment? Please come up, state your name and address.
George Smith, 194 Matt James Court. I just want to thank the council for your consideration, things you had to say today. And Mayor, I certainly agree with you. It is different, a minute this way and 2 minutes that way and 3 minutes that way, but that's why I chose to live here and not several minutes in those directions. And if we do get ready at some point in time in the future to be consistent with the towns around us, I'm going to put in my vote for a Zaxby's.
With the crinkle fries.
But I appreciate your consideration today. Thank you for your determinations.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Anyone else? Very good. Council members? Any comments this evening?
It's just great to have a full house.
It is. Y'all come back next month. We'd love to have you. Always good to see the faces. Darielle, it's always good to see you. I think you said you were going to try to be a regular at our council meetings. So it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. Anything else this evening?
Any questions for our students?
Oh, that's right. You know,
Yeah.
Mrs. Walker has a quiz for you to pick up before you go. You can stay here. It's probably only about a 45-minute quiz.
25 quick questions.
45 quick questions about
Yeah.
tonight's meeting and certain things that maybe you have learned about it. So be sure and pick it up from Mrs. Walker before you go out, and she'll be waiting at the door before you leave. In order to get your signature that you attended this meeting, you'll have to complete the quiz.
I'm in good room.
Okay?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I observed right before we had our meeting, there was a couple of young ladies that were very anxious to come up and get their papers signed early. I thought maybe we might ask them to stay afterward and talk with us a little while.
That's a really good idea. And maybe you can
Is
share with
anybody?
us what your
Let's see,
urgency and
oh,
plan
there
is.
they are. Okay. Just want to make sure.
No, folks, we're just kidding about that. There's no quiz. We're always glad when we have, whether you're here voluntarily or here as a requirement of one of your classes, to learn more about your government and to bring your smiling faces and wonderful enthusiasm to our meetings. So thank you for being here and hope you've learned something tonight. Any additional comments? Very good. With that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Mrs. Mock makes the motion. Mr. Smith makes the second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. We're adjourned. Thank
All
you for
right,
being
come
here.
on, kids.
Come on up.
That's right.
I got a red face I need to sign.